Hey guys, if this video helps you relax, please like and subscribe for more boring history. Let's get started. Tonight, we're traveling far beyond the rise of great cities, before towering castles, before the Roman Empire reached its height, and long before European ships ever crossed the Atlantic Ocean. Our destination is North America, around 1,000 years before the birth of Christ. There are no roads stretching across the continent, no written books, no horses pulling wagons, no iron swords, no glass windows, no clocks measuring the hours. Instead, forests seem endless. Rivers flow exactly as nature intended. The night sky is untouched by artificial light, and scattered across the vast landscape are thousands of small communities, each living according to traditions passed down through countless generations. Tonight, we are not following a famous chief. We are not witnessing a legendary battle. We are simply spending one ordinary day with one ordinary person, someone whose name has been forgotten by history. Someone who never imagined that people thousands of years later would wonder what life was truly like. Of course, no one can know every detail of a single person's life from 3,000 years ago. Archaeology, environmental evidence, and the traditions preserved by indigenous peoples allow historians to build a careful picture, but some details remain informed reconstruction rather than certainty. Our story begins just before sunrise. The air is cool. Mist hangs low above the nearby river. The stars slowly begin disappearing as the eastern horizon grows pale. Inside a modest home built from wooden poles covered with woven branches and bark, a family is already beginning to wake. The house is quiet, except for the soft crackling of yesterday's fire. The fire has never been allowed to die completely. Keeping it alive is easier than starting a new one from scratch. A few glowing coals still remain beneath the ashes. An older family member carefully blows across them. Tiny sparks brighten. Dry grass is added, then small sticks. Soon, gentle flames begin dancing once again. Warmth slowly fills the home. Smoke rises through an opening above. Everyone moves slowly. There is no alarm clock, no rush to catch a train. The rhythm of life follows the sun, the weather, and the changing seasons. Outside, birds have already begun singing. Some are searching for insects among the trees. Others call loudly across the forest. Their sounds have marked the beginning of mornings for thousands of years. Our traveler, an ordinary young adult of the community, sits quietly for a few moments. Before the day's work begins, there is time to observe the world waking up. Every sound carries meaning. The wind reveals changing weather. Birds sometimes indicate nearby animals. Even silence can be important. Knowledge of nature is not considered a hobby, it is survival. Unlike modern life, where many people spend their days indoors, nearly every activity here depends on understanding the natural world. The family owns very few possessions by modern standards. A few carefully shaped stone tools, clay cooking pots, woven baskets, animal hides, wooden bowls, fishing nets, spears, perhaps a beautifully carved ornament made from shell or bone. Every object has required many hours of labor. Nothing is disposable. If something breaks, it is repaired whenever possible. Resources are respected because obtaining them requires effort. Breakfast is simple. Perhaps roasted nuts collected during the previous season, dried berries, smoked fish, or ground seeds mixed into a thick porridge. The exact meal depends on where this community lives. North America is enormous. Even 3,000 years ago, environments differed greatly. People living near the Atlantic coast lived differently from those in the Great Lakes. Communities along the Mississippi River had different resources from those in the deserts of the Southwest. Our story takes place in the rich woodlands of eastern North America, where rivers, forests, wetlands, and open meadows provide a remarkable variety of food throughout the year. The morning meal is calm. Conversation is calm. Children gradually wake. Some remain sleepy. Others are already curious about what the day might bring. There is no school building waiting for them. Instead, learning happens constantly. Every task is a lesson. Every walk through the forest becomes education. Every elder serves as a teacher. Knowledge is shared through observation, practice, and storytelling. A child learns which plants are safe to eat, which mushrooms must never be touched, how animal tracks reveal direction, when birds become unusually quiet, how changing clouds predict rain. Mistakes can be dangerous. Experience matters. Soon, the village begins coming alive. Smoke rises from several homes. Dogs wander between buildings. People greet one another warmly. Everyone knows everyone else. The community is small enough that every person depends on the others. There are skilled hunters, experienced gatherers, talented basket makers, stone tool craftsmen, healers familiar with medicinal plants, storytellers who preserve the memories of countless generations. No one survives entirely alone, and perhaps that is the greatest lesson this ancient village offers us. Life here is not built around individual success. It is built around cooperation. The day's work has only just begun, and with the rising sun, our journey into one ordinary day in ancient North America is finally underway.
The first golden light of morning slowly spreads across the treetops. A thin layer of mist still clings to the river, drifting lazily above the calm water. The air smells of damp earth, fresh leaves, and the faint smoke rising from dozens of cooking fires. The village is now fully awake. People step outside one by one, greeting neighbors with quiet smiles and familiar nods. There is no loud noise, no crowded streets, and no hurried pace. Every movement seems patient, shaped by generations of experience rather than by the pressure of a clock. The day will be long, but no one complains. This rhythm of work has remained almost unchanged for countless generations. Our traveler steps outside the family home carrying a woven basket made from strips of bark. The basket is light but remarkably strong, carefully woven during the previous winter when outdoor work was limited. Every object has a purpose. Nothing is decorative without also being useful. Nearby, an elderly woman kneels beside several clay pots, checking food that had been stored through the colder months. Some containers hold dried sunflower seeds. Others contain acorns that were carefully processed to remove their bitter taste. Another holds smoked fish caught weeks earlier. Food storage is one of the greatest skills of this community. Although forests often seem abundant, experienced people know that nature is unpredictable. Some years produce fewer nuts. Some rivers yield fewer fish. Storms can damage crops. Preparing for difficult seasons is simply part of life. A group of children runs toward the edge of the village. They laugh quietly as they chase one another between tall oak trees. Their play may appear carefree, but even games teach important lessons. Throwing sticks develops accuracy.
Running builds endurance. Observing birds teaches patience. Listening carefully trains awareness. In this world, nearly every childhood activity prepares them for adulthood. Meanwhile, several adults gather near the center of the village. Today's tasks must be discussed. Unlike modern businesses, there are no written schedules or official meetings. Everyone already understands what needs to be done. Still, cooperation is essential. Some people will repair nets. Others will check nearby gardens. Several experienced hunters plan to follow fresh deer tracks discovered yesterday evening. Another small group intends to collect edible plants growing deeper inside the forest. No single person performs every task. Different skills strengthen the entire community. Our traveler joins the gathering group heading toward the nearby woodland. Each carries slightly different tools. One carries a digging stick hardened by fire. Another has a woven basket across the back. Someone else carries a polished stone axe attached securely to a wooden handle using plant fibers and natural tree resin. These tools may appear simple to modernize, yet each one represents hundreds of years of careful improvement. People have experimented with different stones, different woods, and different methods of shaping tools. Generations of observation have created technology perfectly suited to their environment. As they enter the forest, conversation becomes quieter, not because speaking is forbidden, because listening matters. A snapping branch, the distant call of a bird, the rustle of leaves. Every sound provides information. Experienced travelers notice details that visitors would completely miss. Fresh deer tracks press into soft mud beside a stream. Small rabbit footprints disappear beneath thick bushes. Tiny claw marks on tree bark reveal where raccoons searched for food during the night. Nature is constantly speaking.
Only careful observers understand its language. The group pauses beside a towering white oak. Its branches stretch high above the forest floor. Although this is not the season for gathering acorns, everyone remembers how valuable this tree becomes later in the year. Large trees like this feed entire communities. Their locations are remembered for generations. Nearby grows a patch of wild onions. One woman gently loosens the soil using her digging stick. She never removes every plant. Some remain untouched so they can continue growing next year. Sustainability is not an abstract idea. It is simple common sense. Taking everything today would leave nothing for tomorrow. Farther ahead, another member discovers ripe berries growing beneath low shrubs. Children eagerly help collect them, but they are reminded never to strip every branch. Birds depend upon these berries, so do bears. The forest feeds many living creatures. Humans are only one part of that larger world. As the baskets slowly become heavier, the group continues deeper into the woods. Along the way, they recognize dozens of useful plants. Some become medicine. Others provide fibers for weaving. Certain roots are cooked into meals. Tree bark can become rope. Even fallen branches may later become handles for tools. Very little is wasted. Knowledge like this cannot be learned from books. It requires years of observation. Children ask questions constantly. Older relatives answer patiently. Sometimes they tell stories explaining why a certain plant should never be harvested carelessly. Whether every story is historically factual matters less than the lesson it teaches. Stories preserve knowledge. Around mid-morning, sunlight begins reaching the forest floor. The air grows warmer. Insects become more active. A woodpecker taps rhythmically against an old tree. Somewhere in the distance, a crow calls repeatedly. One experienced gatherer suddenly raises a hand. Everyone stops. Silence. Nothing appears unusual. Then they notice movement.
Several white-tailed deer step carefully through a nearby clearing. The animals remain unaware of the people hidden among the trees. No one rushes forward. Today, this group is gathering plants, not hunting. The deer continue peacefully before disappearing once again into the forest. Moments like these are common. Wildlife surrounds daily life. People respect animals deeply. They understand that survival depends upon them. Many communities believe animals willingly offer themselves only when treated with respect. Successful hunting is never taken for granted. Every life taken deserves gratitude. By late morning, the baskets are becoming full. The group begins walking back toward the village. The journey home is unhurried. Along the way, they stop beside a clear stream. Everyone drinks cool water using carved wooden cups or simply their hands. The stream itself is carefully protected. Clean water means healthy people. Polluting it would harm everyone downstream. As they approach the village once more, fresh sounds greet them. Stone striking stone, children laughing, dogs barking, someone splitting firewood, another person scraping an animal hide to prepare leather for future clothing. Life continues everywhere. No one remains idle for long. Near one home, an older craftsman sits shaping a new spear point from carefully selected stone. Each strike must be exact. One mistake could ruin hours of work. Nearby sits a younger apprentice watching every movement. No written instructions exist. Learning happens through careful observation. Patience is perhaps the most valuable skill of all. Our traveler empties the gathered plants into several woven trays where they will later be cleaned, dried, or cooked. Nothing about today's work seems extraordinary, and perhaps that is exactly why it matters. History often remembers kings, warriors, and great battles, yet civilizations survive because ordinary people wake every morning, collect food, repair tools, teach children, share knowledge, and quietly care for one another. The afternoon still lies ahead. More work awaits beneath the warm summer sun, but for now, the village pauses only briefly.
The sun now hangs high above the forest. By early afternoon, the morning mist has completely disappeared. Warm light filters through the tall oak, hickory, maple, and walnut trees, painting shifting patterns across the ground. The air feels heavier now, carrying the rich scent of pine needles, damp soil, and wildflowers blooming near the edge of the village. The busiest part of the day has arrived. No one announces it. The position of the sun is enough. Life follows nature's schedule rather than numbers on a clock. After a simple midday meal of smoked fish, roasted squash, nuts, and fresh berries gathered earlier that morning, everyone quietly returns to work. Our traveler joins several family members walking toward the community's gardens. Unlike the enormous farms of the modern world, these gardens blend naturally into the surrounding landscape. They are carefully tended clearings where generations have learned exactly which plants grow well together. The people here understand something that modern gardeners would later call companion planting. Corn grows tall toward the sunlight. Beans climb the sturdy corn stalks. Squash spreads across the ground below, its broad leaves helping shade the soil and reduce moisture loss. Centuries later, this combination would become widely known as the Three Sisters. Although different communities across North America practiced agriculture in different ways, many had already discovered that certain crops helped one another thrive. The garden requires constant attention, not because nature is weak, but because nature is always changing. Young weeds appear almost overnight. Insects nibble tender leaves. Heavy rain may flatten delicate plants. Dry weeks demand careful observation. Our traveler kneels beside several young squash plants. Using nothing more than a wooden digging stick, loose soil is gently pulled around the roots. Every movement is slow and deliberate. No one rushes. The work itself encourages patience. Nearby, two older women examine the corn. One notices small signs that insects have begun feeding on several leaves. Instead of reaching for manufactured chemicals, they rely upon generations of experience. Certain plants placed nearby discourage insects. Some damaged leaves are simply removed. Healthy soil, careful observation, and experience remain their greatest tools. Children wander through the gardens carrying small baskets. They are given simple responsibilities: collect fallen branches, remove obvious weeds, carry fresh water. Learning begins early. Responsibility grows gradually. No child is expected to master everything immediately. Knowledge is earned one season at a time. Beyond the gardens, several men return from checking fishing traps placed earlier along the river. Their success today is modest. Several large fish shimmer inside woven baskets. Enough for supper, enough to dry for later, but not excessive. Taking only what is needed helps ensure that fish remain plentiful in seasons to come. This careful balance appears repeatedly throughout village life. Nothing suggests unlimited abundance. Everything encourages moderation. The afternoon grows warmer. Cicadas begin their familiar buzzing among the trees. Dragonflies dart above nearby ponds. Butterflies drift lazily between wildflowers. Even these small creatures receive attention. Children learn that every living thing has its place. Some insects damage crops. Others pollinate flowers.
Some birds eat harmful insects. Others scatter seeds that eventually become forests. The natural world is understood as an interconnected system, even if no one uses those exact words. Near the center of the village, several skilled craftspeople continue their work. Our traveler pauses to watch. An elderly man sits shaping a bow from a carefully selected piece of wood. This is not hurried work. The wood has already dried for many months. Too much moisture would weaken it. Too little flexibility would cause it to snap. He slowly scrapes away tiny curls of wood using a sharpened stone blade. After each adjustment, he bends the bow slightly, watching, feeling, listening. The wood itself tells him whether more work is needed. Beside him, another craftsperson twists long strands of plant fiber into strong cord. The process appears simple, yet every twist must remain even. Uneven cord may break during hunting or while carrying heavy loads. Nearby, several women weave new baskets from strips of river cane and tree bark. Their fingers move almost automatically. Patterns learned during childhood now flow naturally through years of practice. Some baskets will carry food. Others will store seeds. Some may even become gifts exchanged between neighboring villages. Trade exists even here. Although this village produces many necessities, no community possesses everything. Certain valuable stones come from distant mountains. Beautiful shells travel inland from coastal waters hundreds of miles away. Copper appears from regions surrounding the Great Lakes. News travels alongside these trade routes. Ideas travel too. No village lives in complete isolation. As the afternoon slowly passes, an elder gathers several children beneath the shade of an enormous oak tree. Work pauses briefly. Storytelling begins. These are not simply entertaining tales. Stories preserve memory. Some explain how animals received their unique characteristics. Others teach respect, courage, generosity, or patience. Some describe ancestors who survived harsh winters. Others remind young listeners never to become arrogant toward nature. Because these traditions are spoken rather than written, careful listening becomes one of the most important skills a child can develop. Every generation carries the responsibility of remembering. Every story becomes a bridge connecting the past to the future. Our traveler listens quietly while repairing a fishing net. The rhythmic movement of tying knots almost matches the steady voice of the storyteller. The afternoon breeze gently stirs the leaves overhead. Some children begin leaning against their parents. Others stare upward into the branches, where squirrels chase one another through the canopy. No one seems impatient. Time feels different here. Hours are measured by sunlight, not deadlines. As shadows gradually lengthen, preparations for the evening quietly begin. Fresh vegetables harvested from the gardens are carried toward the cooking fires. Fish are cleaned beside the river. Bundles of firewood gathered earlier are stacked neatly outside each home. Several young hunters return after scouting the surrounding forest. They report seeing fresh deer tracks farther north. Perhaps tomorrow's hunt will begin before sunrise. Planning rarely extends months into the future. Instead, life responds continuously to changing weather, changing seasons, and changing opportunities. The village remains flexible. Adaptability has always been one of humanity's greatest strengths. As our traveler finishes repairing the fishing net, they pause for a moment. The afternoon sun now shines lower across the clearing. Children continue laughing nearby. Smoke rises lazily into the clear blue sky. Somewhere in the forest, a wood thrush begins singing. It has been an ordinary afternoon. No great discoveries, no famous battles, no dramatic adventures. Yet thousands of ordinary afternoons just like this quietly built entire civilizations. History often remembers extraordinary moments, but real life, then as now, is usually made from ordinary days.
The brilliant blue sky softens into warmer shades of gold and amber as the sun sinks lower above the western forest. Long shadows stretch across the village, reaching between the homes like quiet fingers. The busiest hours of work are now ending. No bell announces the close of the day. No whistle signals the end of a shift. Nature alone marks the passing of time. The air cools ever so slightly. A gentle breeze moves through the tall trees, carrying the pleasant smell of wood smoke across the clearing. One by one, families begin returning home. Children who spent the afternoon helping in the gardens or gathering firewood now carry small bundles of sticks under their arms. The older members of the community inspect the day's harvest. Baskets filled with berries, fresh herbs, edible roots, squash from the gardens, fish from the river. Every family has contributed something. Every family depends upon everyone else. Our traveler walks toward the family's cooking fire. The flames have already been rebuilt using dry oak branches gathered earlier in the day. A clay cooking pot is carefully placed over the fire using wooden supports. Inside the pot, clean water begins to warm. Soon, pieces of squash, wild onions, beans, and fresh herbs are added. Later, smoked fish will complete the meal. The cooking is slow. Nothing is rushed. There are no metal stoves, no electric ovens, only fire, the oldest cooking companion humanity has ever known. As the food simmers, conversation begins. Not loud conversation, gentle conversation. People speak about the day's work. Someone reports seeing beavers repairing a dam farther downstream. Another describes finding a patch of ripe berries that may still be ready tomorrow. A hunter quietly explains where fresh deer tracks cross the creek. These simple conversations help everyone prepare for tomorrow.
knowledge is shared freely. Keeping important information secret would benefit no one. Children sit nearby watching the fire. They have seen these evening meals thousands of times before, yet they remain fascinated by the dancing flames. Fire gives warmth. Fire cooks food. Fire hardens wooden tools. Fire provides safety during the night. Without it, life would be far more difficult. As darkness slowly approaches, more cooking fires begin glowing throughout the village. From a distance, the settlement now resembles a small collection of golden lights surrounded by endless forest. Birdsong gradually becomes quieter. The daytime birds settle into their nests. Soon, different sounds replace them. Crickets begin their steady chorus. Tree frogs call from nearby wetlands. An owl speaks somewhere beyond the trees. The forest is changing shifts. Day belongs to certain animals, night belongs to others. The people understand this rhythm well. Some children finish eating before the adults. Soon they begin playing nearby. One group tosses small sticks toward a tree stump. Another pretends to track imaginary animals across the clearing. Evening games continue teaching useful skills without anyone needing to call them lessons. Accuracy, observation, teamwork, patience. The adults smile as they watch.
One day, these children will become the hunters, healers, gardeners, storytellers, and parents of the next generation. Nearby, an elder carefully repairs a pair of moccasins made from soft deer hide. The leather has worn thin after months of walking through forests and along rocky riverbanks. Rather than throwing them away, every small tear is stitched using bone needles and sinew. Nothing useful is wasted. The materials required too much effort to obtain. Respect for resources shapes every part of daily life. As supper finishes cooking, everyone gathers together. The meal is simple but nourishing. There is no elaborate ceremony, yet there is gratitude, not always spoken aloud, sometimes shown simply through careful behavior. People understand that every meal depends upon many gifts: healthy soil, clean water, strong trees, helpful weather, successful hunting, hard work, good fortune. The food is shared fairly. The youngest, the oldest, everyone eats. Community matters more than individual wealth. After supper, clay bowls are washed near the stream. Ashes from the cooking fire are carefully managed. Some will later help enrich garden soil. Even waste often finds another purpose. The evening grows darker. Now the sky begins revealing its greatest display. One by one, the stars appear. First the brightest, then dozens more, then hundreds. Without electric lights, the night sky feels astonishingly alive. The broad band of the Milky Way stretches across the heavens like a pale river of light. For these people, the stars are not distant scientific objects. They are familiar companions. Season after season, the same patterns return. Certain stars signal changing weather. Others announce the coming planting season. Some are woven into ancient stories passed down through generations. Our traveler quietly looks upward. The stars seen tonight are the same stars shining above us today. 3,000 years separate us, yet the sky remains almost unchanged. That simple thought creates a quiet connection across time. Near one fire, the village storyteller begins speaking. The children gather first. Adults listen while continuing small tasks. The storyteller does not read from a book. Every word lives in memory. The story tells of clever animals, great floods, ancestors who learned important lessons, and the sacred balance between people and nature. No one interrupts. Listening carefully honors both the storyteller and the generations who preserved these stories long before anyone alive today was born. Our traveler quietly looks upward. The fire crackles. Sparks drift upward before disappearing into the darkness. Some children begin rubbing sleepy eyes. The youngest lean against their parents. Tomorrow will arrive early. There will be gardens to tend, fish to catch, tools to repair, and perhaps a hunt deep within the forest. But tonight there is only warmth, family, stories, and the comforting sound of voices blending softly with the endless songs of the night forest. The village gradually grows quieter, one fire at a time, one conversation at a time, one family at a time.
The last traces of sunlight have disappeared beyond the distant hills, leaving the village wrapped in gentle darkness. Only the soft orange glow of a few remaining campfires lights the clearing. The world feels slower now, cooler, quieter. The busy work of the day has finally come to an end. The forest, however, is just beginning another kind of life. Far beyond the village, an owl glides silently between towering trees. Its broad wings make almost no sound. Somewhere near the riverbank, a beaver slips into the water with a gentle splash. Frogs continue their steady chorus from nearby marshes. Crickets fill every quiet space with their endless song. To modern ears, these sounds might seem unusual. To the people of this village, they are as familiar as breathing. They have heard them every night since childhood. Our traveler quietly places another small piece of firewood onto the glowing coals. The flames rise for a moment before settling once again into a calm, steady burn. The fire will not be allowed to die during the night. It provides warmth against the cool air. It offers protection from curious animals. Most importantly, it saves valuable time the following morning. Starting a fire without modern tools requires patience and skill. Keeping one alive is much easier. Nearby, grandparents quietly speak with younger family members. The conversation is gentle. No one raises their voice. There is little need. Everyone in the small home sits close enough to hear. The elder points toward the dark entrance of the forest. Long ago, their own grandparents once shared stories beside another fire much like this one. Those elders have long since returned to the earth, yet their knowledge continues through every story remembered. History here is not written on paper. It lives inside people. Every generation becomes both a student and a teacher. A young child asks why the stars seem to move across the sky. The elder smiles. Different communities held different beliefs about the heavens, and no single story represents all indigenous peoples of North America. Instead of giving one universal explanation, the elder simply reminds the child that the stars help people remember the changing seasons and the passage of time. The child looks upward once again. The night sky appears endless. Without city lights, thousands upon thousands of stars stretch from one horizon to the other. The Milky Way shines like a pale ribbon across the darkness. Many generations have looked upon this same sky. Hunters returning home, children falling asleep, storytellers sharing ancient traditions, parents wondering what tomorrow might bring. The stars connect them all. Inside the home, bedding has already been prepared. Animal hides cover the sleeping area. Woven mats provide extra comfort. There are no tall beds.
No thick mattresses, no electric blankets. Yet after a full day of walking, gathering, repairing, and working, sleep comes naturally. Before lying down, our traveler carefully checks several important tools: a stone knife, a hunting spear, a woven basket needing only a small repair. Taking care of tools each evening prevents larger problems later. This simple habit has been learned through experience. Outside, two young adults quietly walk around the edge of the village. They are not soldiers in the modern sense. Rather, they simply remain alert. Most nights pass peacefully. Occasionally, wandering animals approach. A curious black bear might smell cooking fires. A wolf pack may pass silently through the distant forest without ever entering the village. These nighttime walks help ensure everyone's safety. There is little fear, only awareness. People understand that they share the landscape with many other living creatures. The village belongs to humans. The surrounding forest belongs to everyone. The fire burns lower now. Only glowing embers remain. Their soft red light dances across the walls of the home. Shadows move gently as the flames flicker. A cool breeze slips through the doorway, carrying the fresh scent of pine and damp earth. Our traveler pulls an animal hide a little closer around their shoulders. The day has been long, not exciting by the standards of modern adventure stories. No great battle was fought, no famous leader visited, no treasure was discovered. Yet this ordinary day mattered. It helped feed a family. It strengthened friendships. It passed knowledge from one generation to another. It prepared children for adulthood. It respected the land that made life possible. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson this ancient village offers us. History is often written about extraordinary people: kings, generals, explorers, empires. But most human beings who have ever lived were ordinary people. They woke before sunrise, worked with their hands, shared meals with family, told stories beside the fire, watched children grow, looked up at the stars, and quietly hoped for another peaceful tomorrow. 3,000 years separate us from this single day. The tools have changed, the languages have changed, the world itself has changed in countless ways. Yet many hopes remain remarkably familiar: to protect family, to find enough food, to teach children well, to care for elders, to live in harmony with neighbors, to greet another sunrise. The campfire grows smaller. The voices fade. One by one, the homes become silent. Only the sounds of the forest remain. An owl calls once more from the darkness. The river continues its endless journey toward the sea. Above it all, the stars slowly travel across the heavens, exactly as they did thousands of years before, and exactly as they still do today. Our traveler closes their eyes. Tomorrow will begin before dawn. Another ordinary day awaits. Another day of gathering, fishing, gardening, repairing, learning, sharing, living. And although no written record will preserve this particular day,
The village sleeps. Only the smallest glow remains beneath the ashes of the family fire. Outside, the forest is wrapped in darkness, and the cool night air settles gently over the trees, the river, and the quiet homes that have stood together through many changing seasons. The stars continue their slow journey across the sky. No one watches them now. Most of the village is asleep, resting after a long day of work. Yet the natural world never truly sleeps. Somewhere in the distance, a fox slips silently through the undergrowth, searching for a late-night meal. Along the riverbank, a beaver continues strengthening its dam, carrying branches through the still water with patient determination. A deer lifts its head, listening. For a few moments, everything becomes perfectly still. Then the animal quietly disappears into the forest once again. Inside the family home, our traveler sleeps peacefully beneath warm deer hides. The fire has burned down to glowing coals, casting a soft red light across the walls. Shadows move gently as the embers breathe with the faint breeze entering through the smoke hole above. Sleep is deep. There are no glowing screens, no distant traffic, no machines humming through the night, only the comforting sounds of nature. For thousands of years, human beings have fallen asleep to this same rhythm. The steady chirping of crickets, the whisper of wind moving through leaves, the slow crackle of dying firewood, the gentle flow of water over smooth river stones. Hours pass quietly. Gradually, the eastern horizon begins to change. At first, the difference is almost impossible to notice. The stars nearest the horizon slowly begin to fade. The darkness softens into deep shades of blue. Morning is approaching once again. Long before the sun rises, several experienced hunters are already awake. Today's hunt requires an early start. Large animals move most actively during the cool hours before sunrise. The hunters quietly prepare their equipment. Each checks the sharpness of a carefully crafted stone point. Bowstrings are examined for signs of wear. Leather bindings are tightened. Every detail matters. A broken spear or damaged bowstring could mean returning home empty-handed, or worse. Preparation is never wasted. Our traveler also awakes. There is no alarm. Years of habit guide the body naturally. A few quiet moments are spent stretching tired muscles. Yesterday's work can still be felt in aching shoulders and sore hands. But such discomfort is familiar. It simply reminds the body that it has been useful. The remaining coals are stirred carefully. Dry grass catches first, then thin twigs. Soon, another warm fire rises from yesterday's ashes. A small pot of water is placed nearby to warm. Breakfast will once again be simple. A little dried fish, some roasted nuts, perhaps leftover squash from the previous evening, enough to provide strength for another busy day. Outside, the air feels wonderfully fresh. A light fog once again forms above the nearby river. Tiny drops of dew cover every blade of grass. Spiderwebs stretched between low branches sparkle with moisture, creating delicate patterns that disappear as soon as sunlight reaches them. Birds have not yet begun their morning chorus. For a few precious moments, the entire forest seems to hold its breath. The hunters quietly gather near the edge of the village. There are no dramatic speeches, no celebration, only quiet determination. Hunting is never viewed as entertainment. It is responsibility. The group offers silent respect before entering the forest. Many indigenous cultures across North America held traditions of expressing gratitude before or after a hunt, though these practices varied widely between communities. The exact words spoken 3,000 years ago have been lost to history, but respect for the animals and the land was a common thread across many traditions. The hunting party disappears among the trees. Their footsteps leave almost no sound. Years of experience have taught them exactly where to place each foot. Dry branches are avoided. Loose stones are noticed before they roll. Even breathing becomes slower. Patience is more valuable than speed. Back in the village, those remaining begin their own morning routines. Several women carry clay jars toward the river to collect fresh water. Children help gather kindling for cooking fires. An elderly man inspects several fishing nets repaired the previous afternoon. Everything follows a familiar rhythm. No written instructions are needed. Everyone understands their role. Our traveler spends part of the morning repairing the roof of the family home. Winter storms months earlier had loosened several strips of bark covering the frame. Fresh pieces are carefully tied into place using strong plant fibers. The work is slow, yet every repair strengthens the home before future storms arrive. Maintenance never truly ends. Nature constantly tests every structure. Strong winds, heavy rain, snow, sunlight, everything built by human hands requires care. As the first rays of sunlight finally reach the tops of the tallest trees, the village begins glowing with warm golden light. Mist rises slowly from the river. Birdsong suddenly fills the air. Robins, woodpeckers, blue jays, their voices overlap into the familiar music of another morning. Our traveler pauses for a moment. Standing beside the family home, they watch sunlight spread across the clearing. Children begin laughing again. Smoke rises from cooking fires. Dogs stretch lazily after the night's sleep. Another ordinary day has begun. It looks almost identical to yesterday, and perhaps tomorrow will look much the same. Yet this steady rhythm is exactly what allows the community to survive. No generation builds its future in a single dramatic moment. Instead, it is built one sunrise at a time, one repaired tool, one shared meal, one story remembered, one child taught, one careful harvest, one peaceful morning beneath the ancient trees. The cycle continues, just as it has for countless generations before and for countless generations still to come.
And so, our quiet journey through one ordinary day in North America, nearly 3,000 years ago, slowly comes to an end. Nothing extraordinary happened. No kingdom rose, no empire fell, no famous battle changed the course of history, no explorer recorded the events of this day in ink. Yet this simple day mattered. It mattered because history is not built only by the remarkable. It is built day after day by ordinary people living ordinary lives. As another sunrise brightens the eastern sky, the village begins moving once more. The same familiar sounds return. The soft crackle of morning fires, the distant splash of water along the riverbank, children laughing as they begin another day of learning, birds greeting the dawn from the highest branches. Life continues, just as it did yesterday, and just as everyone hopes it will tomorrow. Our traveler steps outside once again. The cool morning air carries the scent of wet earth after the night. Tiny drops of dew sparkle on every blade of grass. The forest feels alive. Every tree seems to breathe quietly in the gentle breeze. Every bird has its own place. Every stream follows the same path carved over thousands of years. Nothing appears hurried, nothing seems wasted. The people of this small community do not think of themselves as living in history. To them, this is simply life. They cannot imagine that thousands of years later, people around the world will wonder what their ordinary mornings looked like. They have never heard the names of Rome, China's great dynasties, or the kingdoms that flourished elsewhere across the globe. Their world is the forest, the river, the changing seasons, and the people they love. Yet their lives are no less meaningful. Every generation leaves something behind. Sometimes that legacy is a great monument built from stone. Sometimes it is a written book. Sometimes it is an invention that changes the world. But often, the greatest legacy is far quieter. A child taught how to recognize edible plants, a carefully repaired fishing net, a story remembered beside the evening fire, a lesson about kindness,
a warning about respecting the land, a family that survives another winter because someone planned wisely during the summer. These quiet acts rarely appear in history books, yet they shape humanity just as surely as wars and kings. Archaeologists today continue uncovering small pieces of this forgotten world: a broken spear point beneath layers of soil, fragments of beautifully decorated pottery, the outline of an ancient cooking fire, pollen preserved in lake sediments, animal bones showing what people once hunted, seeds revealing what they planted and gathered. Each discovery adds another tiny piece to an enormous puzzle. No single artifact tells the whole story, but together they reveal lives filled with intelligence, creativity, patience, and resilience. For many centuries, some people mistakenly believed that ancient North America before European arrival was an empty wilderness. Today we know that was never true.
The continent was home to millions of indigenous peoples, living in hundreds of distinct cultures and speaking hundreds of different languages. Some communities were small woodland villages, like the one we imagined tonight. Others lived along vast rivers. Some crossed open grasslands. Others built homes in deserts, mountains, coastlines, or Arctic landscapes. Each adapted to its own environment in remarkable ways. There was no single Native American way of life. Instead, there were countless traditions, each shaped by local landscapes, climates, and generations of knowledge. Our story focused on just one possible community in the eastern woodlands around 1000 BC. Many details varied from place to place. That diversity is one of the greatest strengths of North America's ancient past. The people of this village will never know the changes still waiting beyond the horizon of time. Thousands of years from now, agriculture will expand. Great ceremonial earthworks will rise across parts of the continent. Trading networks will connect distant peoples. Large towns and cities will appear in some regions. Generations later, European ships will eventually reach these shores, bringing profound and often devastating changes for indigenous communities. But none of that has happened yet. For the people in our story, tomorrow is simply another day, another sunrise, another fishing trip, another harvest, another evening beside the fire. And perhaps that is the most peaceful place to leave them. Not at the beginning of tragedy, not during conflict, but during a quiet season of ordinary life. A reminder that most of human history has not been lived on battlefields. It has been lived around cooking fires, beside rivers, under trees, within families, among neighbors. As we prepare to leave this ancient village behind, imagine the sounds growing softer. The laughter of children fades into the distance. The crackling fire becomes only a faint whisper. The river continues flowing exactly as it has for thousands of years. The forest remains patient. The stars begin appearing once more in the evening sky. Those same stars watched over these people long before our own time, and tonight they still shine above us. Although thousands of years separate our lives from theirs, some experiences remain beautifully familiar. The comfort of family, the satisfaction of honest work, the hope that tomorrow will bring enough food, the joy of sharing stories, the quiet peace that comes as daylight slowly disappears and night settles gently over the land. Perhaps that is why these ancient lives still speak to us today. Not because they were mysterious, not because they were forgotten, but because beneath all the changes of history, they remind us of something timeless, that every ordinary day has value. Every shared meal matters. Every lesson passed from one generation to the next becomes part of humanity's long story. And every sunrise,
no matter the century, offers another chance to begin again. So, as the last embers of the campfire slowly fade into darkness, we quietly step away from this small village in the eastern woodlands. We leave it exactly as we found it, peaceful, living, enduring, still surrounded by ancient forests, still guided by the rivers, still sleeping beneath the same endless sky. Thank you for joining me on this gentle journey into the distant past. Until our next quiet walk through history, may your evening be peaceful, may your dreams be calm, and may the timeless stories of the past accompany you softly into sleep.
Days become weeks. Weeks become months. The people do not count time with calendars hanging on wooden walls. Instead, they watch the world itself. They notice the length of shadows, the return of migrating birds, the swelling of tree buds, the first flowers pushing through the forest floor, the changing voices of frogs after the snow has melted. Nature is their calendar. Every season brings different work, different challenges, and different rewards. Nothing remains the same for long. As the cold grip of winter slowly loosens, spring quietly arrives in the eastern woodlands. At first, the change is almost impossible to notice. The mornings remain chilly. Thin patches of snow still linger beneath the deepest shade of towering pine trees. Ice continues floating along parts of the river. Yet each passing day grows slightly warmer. The sun climbs a little higher into the sky. The village begins preparing for another year. For the people living here, spring is perhaps the busiest season of all. Everything depends upon these coming weeks. Food gathered last autumn has grown scarce. The baskets of dried berries are nearly empty. Only a few smoked fish remain hanging above the cooking fires. The stores of nuts collected before winter have become noticeably smaller. This time of year demands patience. The forests have not yet fully awakened. The gardens have not yet begun producing food. Every remaining meal is shared carefully. One cool morning before sunrise, several adults quietly leave the village carrying woven baskets and sharpened digging sticks. They are searching for the first edible plants of spring. Experience tells them exactly where to look. Near the southern slopes where sunlight warms the earth first. Along streams where fresh green shoots appear. At the edge of open meadows protected from harsh winter winds. Children eagerly follow behind. This is one of the most exciting times of the year. Every new plant signals that winter's long hold is finally ending. One elder kneels beside a cluster of tiny green leaves pushing through the damp soil. The children gather around. Patiently, the elder explains which plants may be gathered and which must remain untouched. Knowledge like this cannot be rushed. Some edible plants closely resemble dangerous ones. Careful observation keeps families safe. Only a few leaves are collected from each patch. The rest are left behind. Nature must always have the chance to renew itself. Nearby, the river has become much more active. Melting snow from distant hills increases the flow of water. Fish begin moving upstream. The village knows exactly what this means. Fishing season is beginning. Several families gather along familiar stretches of the river. Some repair woven fish traps damaged during the winter. Others prepare long wooden spears. A few carefully untangle fishing nets that were stored away months earlier. The river itself seems alive.
Water birds return from their winter journeys. Beavers continue repairing their dams after the harsh season. Everything feels busy once again. Our traveler joins a small fishing group. Standing quietly near the riverbank requires remarkable patience. Hours may pass with little movement. Then suddenly, silver flashes beneath the surface. A spear moves swiftly. The water splashes. Success comes only after years of practice. Even when fish are plentiful, no one celebrates loudly. Gratitude remains more important than excitement. The catch is carried home carefully. Some fish will be cooked immediately. Others will be smoked for future weeks. Nothing is wasted. Back in the village, another important task begins. The gardens must be prepared. Throughout the winter, fallen branches have covered parts of the planting areas. Leaves lie thick across the soil. Children eagerly help remove small sticks and stones. Adults loosen the earth using wooden digging tools. The soil feels cool and rich beneath their hands. Generations of careful farming have taught them where crops grow best. Corn will eventually rise toward the summer sun. Beans will climb. Squash will spread across the ground. But first, the earth must be ready. Spring is also the season for repairing homes. Winter storms have tested every roof. Strong winds loosen bark coverings. Heavy snow bends wooden frames. Our traveler helps replace several worn pieces of bark using fresh strips gathered from nearby trees. Each repair strengthens the home before summer thunderstorms arrive. Nearby, an elderly craftsperson begins making new baskets. Fresh spring plants provide flexible fibers perfect for weaving. The younger children watch carefully. Their small hands attempt simple patterns. The baskets may look uneven. Some fall apart entirely. No one laughs. Every skilled weaver once began exactly the same way. Learning takes time. As evening approaches, the entire village seems filled with quiet optimism. The long winter has passed. The forests grow greener every day. Bird song becomes louder each morning. Fresh food slowly returns. The air carries the sweet scent of blooming flowers drifting through the trees. Around the evening fires, conversations sound lighter than they did only weeks before. Plans are made for planting, fishing, gathering, building. The future once again feels full of possibility. Our traveler sits quietly beside the familiar cooking fire. Looking across the village, everything appears wonderfully alive. Children chase each other beneath newly blooming trees. Dogs wander lazily through the warm grass. Smoke rises peacefully into the soft pink sky. The first stars begin appearing overhead. Spring has arrived once more, just as it did for the grandparents and their grandparents before them. The seasons continue their endless cycle. The people do not control nature. They live alongside it, learning its rhythms, respecting its gifts, accepting its hardships, and finding quiet joy in each new beginning. The long winter is now only a memory.